Hello, Leanna here, and thank you for joining our watercolor workshop. I'm going to show you how I made these watercolor wreaths. I'm using a size 4 and a size 8 by Silver Black Velvet. Here's my dirty palette, and I always have one of these, or more, of these blue shop towels right by my side. I have some water and my paper. I'm just using a big scrap paper. And first thing I'm going to do is come in with my brush held vertically, and I'm going to outline where my heart will be. Just trying to establish the wreath. And I'm going to go over and over this with different amounts of water on my brush each time until I feel like I have it to the shape that I would like. I'm doing this very loosely. I don't have a plan. This is intuitive painting. After I get that heart shape there, I'm dropping some paint in the water. That's wet on wet. You have wet on your paper and you're dropping wet paint onto the wet surface. This is just one way to do wet on wet. I'm going to go over this several times until I feel like I have enough color. I'm going to go out of the lines and just have fun. It's okay to have little branches coming out. Those will be a place for our flowers and leaves to sit. Going back in with a little darker paint. I just have more paint on the brush than water this time. And I'm just establishing some textures. Now I'm going into my little palette. I have a new color that I'm trying out. And I'm going to make some flowers. These are going to be loose flowers, very easy. Basically just using my brush, making those brush strokes in the shape of a flower. This is a five petal flower. Just trying to adjust that shape a little bit. And now I'm going to go in with an orange. I'm going to put this orange flower right up against that red flower, and I'm going to let parts of that orange flower connect with that red flower so the orange and the red will bleed together. I'm going to put another flower down below here. Thinking about my composition. All right, and now I'm doing the eggs. So I'm putting down just some clear water, and it's going to connect with that brown that's already on there of the heart, and that's going to bleed into the clear water. And now I'm adding some paint, thinking about those egg shapes and how the eggs would be darker at the bottom for the shadows. Fixing that shape a little bit. With just some clear water. And now I'm going to go and add some green leaves. I don't know why, but I find painting leaves so relaxing. Now, when this green and the red merge together, it's going to kind of make a muddier color because green and red are opposites on the color wheel. And I didn't like that bleed that it's doing, so I'm just going to pull it up with a little bit of that shop towel, and that made some interesting textures there. Adding a little bit more sticks. Changing brushes here, going to the other brush because I'm going smaller now. And I'm going to start adding just little dots and spots and little yellow flowers. I'm just looking at my composition and adding them where I feel they would best go. Thinking about that composition and keeping the viewer's eyes on the piece. So where should I put them to make the eyes stay in the picture? Oftentimes I overdo this step because I have so much fun just adding to it. I'm going to go add some stems and leaves, trying to create some movement in the piece. Notice how I'm using bigger flowers and little flowers, bigger leaves and little leaves. All that's to create interest. Little grasses in the background. Those are going to be a little bit less saturated because they're in the background. Mix in a little different color greens. I feel like I had a little bit too much paint on those, so I just dabbed them with my blue shop towel. Changing brushes now. And I'm adding a third egg back in the background. And I'm bumping up against those other eggs, but they're mostly dry. If they were wetter, their color would bleed back there, but since they're not as wet, it's not bleeding as much. Some lighter, brighter color at the top, some darker at the bottom where the shadows would be. Now I'm drying that real quick because I want to put more grasses back behind with that lighter green. This is a step you don't have to do. It's just one of the many things I tried during the process of preparing for this workshop. Some of the wreaths I really overdid it, and some of them I made pretty simple. It's all up to you. Just have fun. One of the wreaths I did was just leaves. That was super fun and pretty. Now I'm splattering a little bit of color on the paper. And I'm going back in and adding a little bit of water to those. They're going to be a little bit smaller. I like to do that because then I'm not really thinking about where the flowers are going. I'm just intuitively splattering and letting the painting happen itself naturally. I'm adding a little bit of green to the heart. A little bit more grass. Just go with the flow. Adding a little bit more to the nest itself, some shadows, just something to kind of hold those eggs in. Adding some yellow to the centers of my flowers. Now looking at it, I kind of wish I would have added a little darker color, but it works. Dried it for a little bit, and now I'm just doing the final touches, just some stray little marks, and there we go. I hope you enjoyed this, and I thank you so much for attending our workshop, and you have a great day.